Good morning, everybody. Thanks a lot for an opportunity to speak to you. I appreciate the efforts of Ukrainians and armed forces of Ukraine for the ability to live. And when you talk about planning of the future, when the war still continues, we appreciate this even more. I am going to focus on some of the opportunities, economic opportunities, and I will speak about several elements of that. We know that as of yesterday, there was no economic development in Ukraine. We used to speak about overregulation of Ukrainian economy. We used to talk about oligopoly, but that's an opportunity for small and medium business development in Ukraine. You see the numbers here, 99%. That's the share of small and medium business development in many countries, and that's the source for us. Unfortunately, before the war, we saw dramatic losses that the economy suffered. But the economic model of Ukrainian development is full of potential. So let's focus our attention beyond the traditional branches, traditional ones where agribusiness, metallurgical business, and infrastructure. If we focus only on those ones, that would mean that we wouldn't allow for the potential to go further. I'm not saying that we should not focus on these three, but what I'm saying is that we need to pursue a wider perspective and look at other branches that are available and have huge potential for economic development of Ukraine. In this war, we showed the world trend, that's networking, and that was proved by the efforts of all the communities that joined in fighting for Ukraine, and that's a sign of networking that is displayed at all levels and all fronts. Before the war, Ukraine used to be more resilient, even more resilient than the USA and Israel when it comes to resilience of society. And resilience of society, that's leadership and that's communities. Let me reveal some of the opportunities. The first, that's network economy. It sounds really complicated, but what does that mean? That means that more and more companies, associations, and unions focus on the needs of people, on the things that would improve their life, and technologies contribute to that. To stay profitable, you have to rethink your business, you have to rethink your approaches, economic approaches. We've seen new associations that are being set up, there's a new clusters that have been set up in Ukraine. They are working at the local, regional levels, and they tap international market. But if you look at the initial steps of clusters, that was the first step to turn them into network economy. And the second step there is the unification into super systems. We don't have agribusiness, but we have agri-food, energy, and other things that are called subsystems that involve technologies. Whatever market it is, whether that's consumer market or anything else, that's creative economies as well that we talk about. I can talk for hours about the union of branches and all that is done to meet the needs of the consumers, to contribute to the improvement of the well-being. And the top part of it is something that will have 25% of the world economy, according to the estimates. And that's network ecosystems. Network ecosystems are focused on the needs of people, and they are indispensable element of any developed economy. And here you see the list of the largest eco network systems, and the focus there is caring about the home, and that's about everything. That's about innovations, that's about opportunities for SMEs, that's about interaction, cooperation. That's exactly what we are doing now when defending our country. So you have to see yourself not as a separate branch, but as an element of the system, and develop these links with each other. Another important element is the choice, your focus, the focus of you as a country, the focus of you as a branch, and the choice of market. Market is needs and meeting and satisfying these needs. Look at the major markets in the world, and since listed here, famine, poverty, the stupidity of governments, the deficit of energy and water, freedom, aging, health. These are all the needs that we are focused on. Love and friendship. So that's an element that is important too. And that's all about markets. And that's where you find yourself, where and how you see yourself as the person, as the company, as community, as the country. Another important element here is networks, supply chains. That's what the developed economies have the focus on. And the priority is the economy of the United States that is an example of that. Resources is the lowest level here. If you look at agribusiness, okay, well, that's there. We know how potential it is in the United States with all the new technologies that they develop. But if you go to the very top, that's something that works the best at the world market because it's focused on meeting the needs of people. And you see the production at a different level. You see a lot of services, but look at the level of diversification of these economies. And that's all typical of the 10 largest markets in the world. And my task is to show all this to you so that you could find opportunities for yourselves. So networking that was so strong and is so strong during the war, and that's a trend in the economy. So when it comes to networking, local communities have huge potential here. You have legislative opportunities to promote networking, to establish and promote economic links, and the resources were on this slide. But if you take a step further, so the communities as an element of network systems can create prerequisites for the development of small clusters that will be turned into large systems and clusters, and encouraging SMEs as an indispensable element. Unless we do that, we'll stay a resource-based economy, the economy of oligopolies. What does that mean for the communities, practically speaking? Let's say in Kyiv Oblast, that's one of the clusters. You see the enterprises here, they have their own expert focus. They are elements of the ecosystems. And the responsibility of the communities amid the war is increasing. These communities suffered huge losses. They lost people. But when the links and chains between these systems are lost, this entire system is lost, and the communities should remember that because that makes the system viable. So relocating enterprises, that's a very important thing. Safety and security of persons is above all, but company is a living organism, and it is an element of the system because that's your cooperation, that's your cooperation with educational, cultural institutions that matters too. As soon as the company is distanced from the roots, then it becomes the element of a different community, of a strange community. It becomes a resource for the other community and loses roots with the home community. So to conclude, let me just say that we do understand that Ukraine is fighting in the war, but we see a turning point at the moment. Our natural ability to networking, our Cossack spirit, our will can contribute and is contributing economically to be more effective in comparison with the traditional governmental institutions, and more effective than large corporations, because through networking we can share values from people to people, and that's an honest and sincere process that enhances human capital and is much more sustainable in long-term perspective. And that's going to be an added value not only for Ukraine, but for the entire world. Glory to Ukraine.